I'm Michael Wilt. I was born in 1942. So the questions she's asking me, you can do your own math. She asked me about did I support President Nixon throughout his entire administration, and I support any president as long as they seem like they're trying to do the country good. I was raised a Democrat, but I've never voted a straight ticket. I've always voted for the person, and I thought Nixon did a good job. And I don't know exactly what happened to Watergate because you don't know what to believe. It was they didn't have the surveillance equipment like they have today, so who knows what's true. I know he was found guilty or resigned and all that. I thought he was an honest spiritual person, and so I don't hold any of that against him. And Jimmy Carter, I thought was kind of a pretty much do nothing president. I still look at him as a peanut farmer. I really didn't think he accomplished much. He was one of the presidents that didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't do much of anything. You got to bear in mind, this was all a long time ago, and I got a good memory, but it's really short. So that's what I remember that happened. And I was asked about what was called the oil crisis. To me, it was a gasoline crisis, and there was a severe gasoline shortage, and there was big long lines at the gas stations, and you could only go to get gas depending on what your license plate number was on odd days or even days. And the other thing that I did was I had a little station wagon, economical station wagon, and I put the second gas tank in it. And I was able, once I would fill up, I was able to do 700 miles. And I had a business at the time, and that was pretty important that I could go to my customers and go to get supplies so my people could keep working and deliver parts and so that was pretty important that I was able to get to and fro and get to work. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, I think it was the second gas crisis. I don't think that was until '79, but we took a trip to Canada bear hunting, and it was really hard to get gas in the United States. And when we got to Canada, there was no shortage. You had all the gas you wanted up there. So it makes you wonder how much of it was political or whatever that was all about. So we'll never probably ever know the truth. My personal opinion is they did all that stuff to raise the price, which they've certainly managed to do. When I was a kid, I remember going to the gas station to get gas for my dad's lawnmower, and gas was 19 cents a gallon. So there you have it. You can't even buy an ounce of it for 19 cents now.
So, do you want to tell them what you did? What did you put next to my mom's swing set?
Well, I bought a fuel tank, and you could buy for most of the time you could buy gasoline from Agway. It was considerably more expensive than what you'd get at the service station, but I could go. I could run the business, and we could do the personal things that we normally did. So we weren't too much affected. I was just grateful that we had the money to be able to do that.
What do you remember about the 3 Mile Island incident?
Wow. Well, I remember the uncertainty. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if it was going to explode. The ironic thing was, the night the thing was happening, it was raining, and we had a chimney fire in our house. And we had 2 fire companies at our house. And the rain probably kept the house from burning down because and we were outside, and the strange thing was that the chimney fire makes a loud sound like a tornado. And I went and looked out the front window of our house toward TMI, wondering if it was blowing up or wondering what this noise was that I was hearing. And I figured out it was a chimney fire. And then when the fire company got there, they had a Geiger counter, and they said there was no radiation release. They had a Geiger counter, and every time the raindrops would hit the Geiger counter, it would go zip, 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 zip. So there was radioactiveness, or whatever you want to call it, released into the rain. So who knows how many people were affected medically by that. We'll never know that. And many people, we left it. We had a place in Delaware at the shore, so we left and went down there. But many people had no place to go, so they stayed there. I had people call me down there and ask what they should do, and people, friends of mine, and it was really a scary time. And the other thing I remember that happened was they sent the kids home from school, and many of the buses got confused because they couldn't go in the area of TMI, and some of the kids were not necessarily lost, but they didn't get home on the right bus, and their families were really worried as to where they were, and it took a couple hours until all the kids that were let out of school really got accounted for. So that was a scary time that I remember. If I remember, we went and picked our kids up so we could go to the shore and get out of town.
Did any of the events of the 1970s affect your life?
Well, I had a business, and you know, I had a machine shop, and the economy of that time was kind of uncertain. The oil crisis and the crisis with Nixon and all that stuff. People were afraid to spend money, which affected people buying things, which affected my machine shop for a while. So we didn't have as much work as we had when I first started it, and then I kind of took a different avenue and went to doing a lot of work for the military, for the government, making parts for tanks and even submarines and things like that. And the local company, which is now BAE, which was then BMY, gave me a lot of work to make parts for Army tanks. And then over time, I got somehow on the list directly to the Army and the Navy were parts that I had made for BMY. The Army would contact me and I'd sell them replacement parts. And so once that started happening, my business grew pretty rapidly. The only thing that really killed my business was in 1975. My shop was flooded. I had 38 inches of water in my machine shop, and I was devastated. You know, after working 15-hour days for 5 years, and then to see it like that was a really difficult time. And so I moved out of the area where the flood zone was. So that every time it would rain after that, I wouldn't sleep because I was afraid it was gonna happen again. That was 1975 of the Hurricane Eloise, and from then on I did mostly military, probably 80% military work, and my business grew from starting my business with nothing until I had as many as 35 employees.
Wow. Great job, Grandpa.